Hey YouTube! So, as the title in the video says, um, this is about my first week home, so last week, although we will get into this weekend. This is going to be separated into two parts because it's going to be super long as separate parts. I'm trying not to go past 15 minutes, and if I do, it'll be like at most 20, and then the other one will be 20. So yes, it'll still be 40 minutes, but it won't be like 40 continuous minutes, it's split in half. So, yeah. Before I get started with that, though, I just wanted to say thanks to my newest subscribers of like last 3 or 4. I'm at 65 now, so you guys keep subscribing, and you should totally share my videos if they're helpful, and yeah, all that stuff. So, without further ado, I give you the week I've been home. Alright, so Sunday is when it all started. What was Sunday's date? The 29th? So that was my last day in the dorms. I was like rushing to pack up. I'm not much of a packer. So it was like an all-day affair, and I'd started the night before. I didn't have too many things left because my sister had taken a lot of my stuff the week before. But I still had quite a few, and my dad was coming to pick me up and take me home. So my dad drives limos and party buses. He came to pick me up in a party bus. Now, he'd helped me to drop off my things in the summer at the beginning of the school year in the party bus as well. Well, actually, no. My godmother had driven all of my stuff, and he just met us to help us move in with the bus. I feel really awkward, kind of like I'm being pretentious. Pretentious might not be the right word, but I don't like it. But anyway, it wasn't terrible, and I appreciated him coming, especially since my godmother moved to Georgia, so she wouldn't be able to make it, and great gesture. Thanks, Dad. But all day that I was working, cleaning up and watching Friends and stuff, I was like, it wasn't so bad. I was like, wow, this is really my last day in the dorm. But as soon as I got into the party bus, I just had the urge to cry. Now, I'm not a very emotional person, as you guys can probably tell from, my voice. Unless I want it to, it doesn't do a lot in terms of inflection. And my face in my videos, I'm generally just smiling, and that's my default expression. I really, I'm pretty apathetic, and I don't put a lot of effort into, well, no, it depends on the situation, how much effort I put into looking as though I care. That sounds bad. I'm gonna keep going now. Okay, so, like I said, I just felt like I was going to cry from the time I got into the party bus to when I got home, and it was I guess devastating. I didn't know where things, or I still don't know where things stand with my mother. It was just 10, 11 months of total freedom, being in control of myself, and now I was back home. And as I said before, I always have a smile on, but it was actually hard. I had to work at keeping it plastered, and there's a few times I kind of slipped up. My dad would just look back and be like, "Hey, you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just tired." And I don't know if he believed it, but he let it go. So I get home, mommy is excited to see me and stuff, and hug my dad. Bye. Words with words. Awesome. I get inside. I'm just sitting on a chair in the living room, and we're discussing all the things that I have to do for the upcoming week. My mom and I mean. I have to go to checkout for the dorm, so return my key, and we're just figuring out how things would go with that. She was going to go with me to the train, and she had a doctor's appointment, so she didn't have to work, so we'd leave around the same time. And my sister and I were supposed to actually work on the walk from the train to from our house to the train, so I thought it was fairly easy. I'd done it when we first moved there, but I've only been home 4 times this past semester, so I never really paid attention to it. I had an idea that it seemed simple. So, we discussed checkout, we're gonna go together, and I have a summer class on Wednesday, and she's planning to, take me to the train and pick me up. And she starts yelling at me because she's like, I didn't tell her what time the class ended. But she asked me about the class. Like, I didn't bring it up. She's like, oh, you're taking a class, right? What time does it end? And she's yelling at me, telling me that I don't tell her anything. And, just a bunch of words. Even though, obviously, I tell you things because you knew about the class. But whatever, that ends, and she's in her room, and I go in there a few hours later, and I'm like, hey, can you make an appointment with Juanita? That's our hairdresser. And she's like, oh, you want to wash your hair? And I was like, yeah, it wasn't really about the hair washing. I just love the way she straightens it. It's just so silky. It's awesome. Sorry. It's like 2 a.m. and, weird things happen at 2 a.m. I guess weird things happen any time of the day when I'm making these vlogs. But, so she was like, okay, I'll do that. And she's like, well, when will we go? And we were like, Tuesday morning, before her appointment. Awesome. Everything's worked out. I head into my sister's room because she was out of town for the weekend, and my mom she didn't know how to work the air mattress. So my sister was like, you can just sleep in my room and I'll set everything up for you when I get home. I do not have a bed yet, for the record, guys. But I do have my own room, finally. Awesome. Next morning, 6:08, I'm talked awake. Do you not understand what that means? I'll explain. My mom walks into the room, and she talks at me until I wake up. Now, I'm not a heavy sleeper, but I'm not a light sleeper either. I err more on the side of light. When I was in high school, whenever she would wake me up, she'd just call my name a couple of times, then I'd be up. If I'm tired or sick, then I'd sleep more heavily, but generally, I wake up fairly easily. And she did this a lot, and she does this to my sister. She talked me awake. Yes, that was wonderful. I looked over at the window, and the sun was kind of, it was out, but it wasn't, super high in the sky, and that's when I checked the time, and saw that it was 6:08. So I don't remember how she started off the conversation, what we were talking about initially, but she's asking me, if I'll get a mobility teacher, if I'll call my commission counselor the next day and get a mobility teacher. So commission counselor, some brief definitions. Commission counselor, they are counselors with the Commission for the Blind, and I don't know if it's what it sounds like, because I was going to say, and basically that's what it sounds like, but you'd probably still need more information, right? So they offer various services and assistance pertaining to all things related to blindness and low vision. So for me, I was given purchased all of my equipment for college. So the laptop and my Braille note and the screen reading software to go with my laptop, and they help assist with job placement for people, and just all blind friendly things. So she wanted me to call my counselor and request a mobility teacher. Now, a mobility teacher, their official title is Orientation and Mobility Instructor. And basically they teach you routes, they teach you how to get around. When you work with a mobility teacher at a young age, they teach you, for me, it was using my cane, and then just the basic skills for traveling, crossing streets, listening to traffic and listening to the signals and knowing when to go and when not to go. And they do this with people who are recently blind, or yeah. So I told her that maybe I'll think about getting the mobility teacher, but it'll depend on how I feel about the walk, because Nettie, my sister, her name is Janelle, but I call her Nettie. Nettie and I were planning on making the walk tonight. And everything just totally shifts. She starts yelling at me because I don't listen to anybody, which isn't true. I listen to my godmother and sister, Nettie. And she's like, I don't want anyone to help me. I never want anyone to help me. Blah, blah, blah. It's easier to bury your children than mind your children. And if you need a translation, it's it's easier to bury your children than to raise them. So, wonderful. One of her mantras is, you make your children, you don't make their mind. And then she storms out. She heads downstairs, and she goes and she heads to work, and she doesn't tell me she leaves. Okay, cool. Oh, before that, she'd angrily told me that where the remote was in her room. So she's the only one with the TV. My sister and I use our iPads. So she was before, when she was in a good mood, she told me that I could go in there and watch the big TV if I wanted. And so she didn't rescind that. but she told me very angrily where the remote was. And then I just hear the door slam, like she didn't even tell me she was leaving. Great. A few hours later, so I go back to sleep, and a few hours later, my sister calls, and, she's like, why am I getting calls about you already? I tell her about everything. Oh, I forgot to mention, so I also tell her that she yells at me, and she's like, we're not going to the woman anymore. She means Juanita. She's like, always do things for people. No one ever does anything for me. I need some time for myself. And I'm just like, okay, that's fine. And Nettie's like, and she gets mad when I want to do things for myself. For the entire school year, I've washed my hair basically, just all me, because most people are washing their hair at a younger age, not when they get to college. My mom was always like really difficult. Like she insisted I go to a beauty salon, because I'm incapable of taking care of my own hair. But so that was basically that. Monday night my sister came home, and she was like all cheery with her and kind of basically disregarding me, and I was just like, all right, that's cool. So next day, Tuesday, talked awake again. So we head out, I want to say around like 10:30, because she has a doctor's appointment, and heading to the dorm. Now we take the bus that's nearest our house, and she's going to get off, get to the hospital. I'm going to get off and go on the train. And I don't like this route because it's kind of long, but it was the most convenient to both of us. Now while we're on the bus, she like touches my hair, and she's like, "Are you sure? The dye isn't permanent?" Yes, I'm sure. I told you that it wasn't. I had sent her the picture of my hair at like 4:30 in the morning, and she called me 2 hours later when she woke up, and giving me a long rant about how she never puts permanent color in her hair, blah, blah, blah. So, she gets off of the bus, then I get off a few stops later, and I get on the train, and this, like, that, what happens next, like, overlaps with the one about the tourists video I did, last week, about just, like, them assisting me, and I had the New Zealander guy and the Scottish woman. Are people from New Zealand called New Zealanders? I know, like, Kiwi is a term, but I'm pretty sure that's, like, derogatory. So, yeah, what are they called? Can someone, like, Google that and tell me? That'd be great. So, there's, like, a bunch of delays on the train, and I know she's probably going to call me soon to find out where I am. So I just call her, and I'm just like, hey, this is happening. And then I'm just like, wait, no, what are you doing? Like, I'm not going to call her every step of the way. It was so easy to fall back into that, and I didn't like it. But I get back to the dorm, and that's where I had made the one about the tourists video. And, as I'm heading out, after I've given my key, I slam into a pole. And I walked into the pole like the first 2 days of school, and then I always remembered to look out for it. I made sure, I made a concerted effort not to walk into that thing. But maybe it's just because I was hungry, I hadn't eaten that day, and yeah, it slammed into my forearm and shoulder. The pole slammed into me, not the other way around. But anyway, so I had to work after that, and I'm about to leave, and I'm calling my mom, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? Going home. And she's like, well, which do you feel more comfortable with? Do you want to take the bus and the Q train, or do you want to take the 3 train? I want to take the 3 train because that's a short walk. I don't fully know it, but you could, meet me there, and, we could work it out. But she's like, oh, well, I think it'd be easier if you took the bus and you took the Q again, because whatever reason she gives. And then she tells me that my sister said it would be a good idea too, and my sister also happened to say, that I don't, she doesn't listen to anybody, which is untrue. Not that I don't listen to anybody, that my sister said it. She usually says that people said things to kind of like give what she said more credibility, but I generally check later on, because I caught on to her game, and my sister was like, no. And she wouldn't say that to my mom, because my mom would never let that go. Pertaining to me, like, oh, even Janelle said this. So, whatever she has to say, she's always said to me. So, yeah. I take the route, I take the train, I have 2 transfers, and then I take the bus home, and it takes me an hour and a half. Which is crazy. It should not take me that long. It's never taken me that long, no matter where I was. It's always been at least like 40, 45 minutes. But, I get off of the bus and she's like, oh, turn this way and this way. And look, you're home. That's great. It's super short from the bus. But from the train, like, in Manhattan to getting to that point in Brooklyn, it's way too long. I did not like it. So my sister and I were supposed to do the walk that day, but we did not, sadly. And, so I needed to figure out what I was doing for the next day, which was Wednesday, because, I still hadn't made the walk with somebody, and I wasn't positive on how to get there, and I could have, GPSed it, but I knew that would have caused a bunch of commotion with mommy, so, sister and I were we were going to talk later about it. But before that happens, my mom calls out to me, as I'm leaving the bathroom, and she's like, "You sure that's not a permanent dye?" Yeah, I'm sure. It's semi-permanent. It's made of all natural stuff. It's made of vegetables and stuff. Now, she'd have been sorting laundry that day, so she's like, "Oh, well, the way it's stained your shirt, that's that's permanent." And I was like, "No, I bleached my hair." She didn't ask what I did with my hair. She just asked about the dye. And, she goes on this long rant, about how that's bad for your hair and your hair will fall out and yada, yada, yada. My sister the next day was just like, it'll grow back. It's effing hair. One time when I had first cut my hair, my sister's like, it's almost like she cares more about your hair than she does about you, because she notices everything. So I hadn't cut it that much, but I put it in a ponytail because it was at the same length in my pony than when I had it out. And she was, she was like, "Oh, is your hair breaking? How did you notice that?" But then, there's just so many things that she doesn't notice. This is gonna turn into parental issues, and I'm not gonna do that. Okay, so the next day my sister was like, I should have told her that it was Clorox, because she was like, "What kind of bleach did you put in your hair?" Hair bleach. But now we're fast forwarding to the next day on Wednesday, when my sister and I had this conversation, and I'm up at 5:50 and I'm heading to work with my sister. She's a teacher, so I hang out in her classroom until she goes on break, and we walk to the train, where it takes me under an hour to get to school for the first day of class. And it's just crazy that I had to go to work with her. This is, she didn't mind, her school doesn't mind, but it's just putting her out of her way when I could just be heading to the train, and I'm not just going to leave, I don't know, it just feels rude, I'm not just going to walk out and be like, alright, bye Felicia, I'm heading to the train, I'll see you when I get back. But, it's still frustrating, but so on the walk from my sister's school to the train, we'd spent 15 minutes talking about our mom. Apparently the day before, when my sister was on her way home, my mom called her and told her she wasn't qualified to teach me the walk to the train. She wasn't qualified to teach me how to listen to cars. And my sister's like, it's a basic skill, listening to the cars and knowing about the traffic. She's not teaching me how to do that. She's teaching me, just how to get somewhere, how to get from point A to point B. And, my sister's like, and she's not qualified to tell me about my qualifications. But anyway, so I get to class, and it's not bad. I was awake and attentive for the entire thing, and I really like my professor. He seems cool and amenable to accommodations, my accommodations and stuff like that. So that's good. And then I call my mom because we're meeting up to head home. After my class and after she's finished with work. And I finally get to check out this walk that's caused so much trouble for the first half of the week. Because I had to go to school with my sister. I had to take an hour and a half to get home. And, okay, so I guess it doesn't sound like so much trouble because it's only been 2 days. But trust me, guys, it gets worse. And this is where I'll leave you. I'll let the suspense build for the few seconds it takes you to click on the link in the description, and however many seconds it takes for the video to load as we get to part 2. Okay, see you in the next video.